Does anyone remember Yu-Gi-Oh! R? If the answer is no, makes total sense to me. But if the answer is yes, I suggest that you spend your time not trying to consume every piece of Yu-Gi-Oh! Media on Earth. I mean, just look at their main antagonist boss monster. Beast Machine King Barbaros is a level 8 Beast Warrior fusion that requires Beast King Barbaros and Machine King in order to make. With a sizable 3800 attack, this non-wicked behemoth is brought down by a horrid effect. It can only attack monsters whose combined levels are equal to or less than his own. With it being level 8, there's only a specific combination of levels that are valid to attack. Basically, if it equals 8, it can attack him. So, if there are 2 level 4 monsters, he can attack both of them. If there's a level 3, and a level 3, he can attack 1, 2, can't go for the third one, that would make it 9. Yes, it can attack fusions and synchros, as long as they meet his criteria, but he's incapable of going for Lynx and Xyz monsters. This is a good time to point out that the Wikia, no shit, just states this about the only time it was ever shown off. In Chapter 44, Yego Tenma plays this card against Yami Yugi. Yego plays Quick Attack, allowing this monster to attack immediately. He then attempted to destroy Yugi's 2 monsters, Blockman and Alpha the Magnet Warrior, but his attacks were blocked by Yugi's Negate attack. On the following turn, Yugi destroyed this monster via Magical Dimension. It came out, was told no, and then died like it was a suicidal praying mantis. When your greatest achievement is almost killing Blockman, you know that your tombstone will just have a name and a date. Hey, do y'all remember Julia Crystal? Remember how her deck was good enough to make the top 8 of every Yu-Gi-Oh! Character with a usable deck when I made a tournament specifically to find the best one? Yeah, well, we all have skeletons in our closets, but this one may just be a closet filled with a family or 2. Gem Knight Lady Brilliant Diamond is a level 10 rock fusion that requires specifically 3 rock-type Gem Knights to make. And its only effect is that it can target a Gem Knight you control and fusion summon using that target as a material. You just spent 3 monsters and a poly for a beat stick and another poly. What are you even attempting to do where this helps? If you want a beat stick, there's always the normal Master Diamond, which is better just about every time barring ridiculously specific circumstances, and also he has a real effect of taking effects. The worst part is that it takes specifically rock types to summon it, which is just kinda there for the same reason the Red Eyes fusion feels like it was eroded from a broken card in 2004. Just to make you not want to play the deck, I guess. I can't find another reason to limit things so much. Would you like to play Gem Knights, or play Gem Knights but with your kneecaps sewn together? There's a correct answer in that rhetorical question. If I say the phrase, fusions that tag into other fusions, you more than likely think of Gladiator Beasts making plays after their battle phase, or Ritual Beasts taking 3 years to go +1, and hey, guess what, you didn't bother to read what Steeds did, but you still ended up asking what every single other card did, so you lost your board and called the deck dumb. I played Ritual Beasts. I stopped going to locals for a reason. Anyway, what both of these decks have in common is actually bringing out other monsters to summon the fusion first, instead of just dipping and having another one to return like a tired security guard. What if those cards existed? Well, that's where the duo of machine fusions themselves, Assault Cannon Beetle and Combat Scissors Beetle, come in. Let's start with Cannon first. Cannon Beetle is a contact fusion of Beatron 1, Beatron 2, and Beatron 3 on the field, much like a certain other contact fusion Chaz ran. I think it was named after a summoning mechanic or something. All this Beetle does is tribute a monster to burn for 800. Granted, this is a slightly better Cannon Soldier, but that's not all. With the spell card Front Change, you can tribute this monster to make Combat Scissors Beetle, who's just a beat stick that can burn the opponent for 1000 when it destroys a monster by battle. Now, Cannon Beetle isn't on this list per se, just kinda had to tag along as his brother Scissors Beetle made him punch someone on the playground at recess and now they're both stuck in detention. Scissors Beetle can only be summoned with Front Change, and there's no reason to get rid of Cannon Soldier but bigger because, well, have you seen the FTKs? It's stupid and wouldn't work considering this is a contact fusion, but it wouldn't make the list. But Scissors Beetle dares to be just a worse Flame Wingman? No. 3 days of ISS, your homework will be brought to the classroom, and your mother will watch you in class. Good day, you little miscreants. Hey, remember Julia Crystal again? How good she is? Well, what if Zuzu, yes I use dub names because I'm American and those are their names to me, everyone is correct here, wanted to have a hard counter to Gem Knights? Well, she didn't try very hard and she just got this. Schuberta the Melodious Maestro is a level 6 fusion with 2400 attack, and is made of specifically Sonata and another Melodious monster. And like Lady Brilliant, her effect is so much worse than the real life one. Once per turn, you can target all the materials used for a fusion summon in either player's graveyard, and banish them to gain 200 attack for each. In comparison, the real life one can banish up to 3 cards from the graveyard for the same gain, but only once while on the field. So, you're countering Gem Knights by hoping that they fusion summon. Okay? That's kind of like saying, ha! If he shoots me in the chest, I'll have a grenade drop from my hand and blow him up! There are like 50 better cards to run to kill Gem Knights, not to mention just throwing them across a pond and seeing them skip over the horizon. Anytime the idea of restricting what cards can be used for something comes up, just know it could be way better. Hey, remember Paradox? Okay, alright, I get it. I'll write something different. So, there was a man by the name of Paradox, whose deck was mostly comprised of cards inspired by main protagonists. These were the Malefics, and they kinda did something for a while in the real-life card game. Now imagine that idea, but making the monsters unusable unless they had a field spell. Oh shit, this is literally Paradox, isn't it? Roku, not Paradox, silly me, carves up number 6 on the list. Blue Eyes Ultimate Statue Dragon. This big boy's a level 12 Earth Fairy. Okay. Version of Kaiba's OG boss dragon fusion and requires the 3 Blue Eyes Statue Dragons to make. What do you get for this trouble? Well, the same effect as all the other statue main deck monsters, actually. That being, its attack becomes 0 and it cannot attack unless Statue Zone is on the field, which is a field spell version of Skill Drain, only for the statue monsters. What makes this worse is that all the statue main deck monsters can special summon themselves for free from hand if Statue Zone is on the field, just like very specific Malefics. Meaning that you're better off just ignoring this card and spamming out 3k beat sticks like there's a sale at the Giant Dragon Emporium. I mean, you can literally just play the real Blue Eyes and Ultimate Dragon, or one of the 2 new versions of him that have come out. Statues were a mistake. Tear down all of Greece. We have failed. Mockina Force is a massive mistake on legs. No, he doesn't get a funny intro. This card just makes me sick in my mouth for such wasted potential. To start things off, you don't even use a spell card to summon him. Rather, use the effect of Commander Covington to stack the Mockinas on top of each other, much like an Xyz summon to make it. All it does is that it gains the total attack and defense of what was used to make him, and requires paying 1000 life points to attack with it. While, yes, you can use things like Fortress and other things that were not on the original, like, real-life Mockina Force to make it bigger, it still takes a lot of work to get him above 4600 attack, and what brings it down so low is that the fate is tied to Covington at the hip like a parasitic twin. If Covington leaves the field by any means, or his effect is negated, pop goes the beat stick. The card's pretty neat, but oh boy does he make me want to get more Mockina support. We're getting Fortune Fairies and Reptilians, so nothing's impossible. Shameless plug time? Shameless plug time! Number 3 is a 3-way tie between Tyrant Burst Dragon, Electromagnetic Magna Dragon, and Solidroid Gamma. If you will recall, all 3 were featured on the video of the worst boss monsters. To summarize, Tyrant Burst is worse than a trap card with the same effect and less payoff. Magna Dragon, not the boss of Bastion. Sorry I said that. Magna Dragon needs a specific spell and 3 specific monsters on the field for a Mirror Flame Wingman effect, and Gamma takes 3 specific monsters being banished from the field for a mediocre back row pop. I go into more detail in my worst boss monsters video, and I grouped them all together here because if I had split them apart, I would have been robbing you guys of some good old-fashioned content. Some may say I'm doing that now, so let's move on along. If a card needs a banned card to function, it makes it on the list. There are exceptions, but this is not one of them. Or should I say these? Neo Bubbleman and Clay Guardian are the duo of Metamorphosis heroes, meaning they need you to waste Metamorphosis, a banned spell card that can summon most existing fusions by tributing a monster of the same level, on Elemental Hero Bubbleman and Elemental Hero Clayman, respectively, and specifically. Neo Bubbleman is basically just a damage step popper that only destroys at the end of the damage step for whatever reason, while Clay Guardian is a 200 burn for each card the opponent controls on summon. Not even once per turn, just on summon. One is a worse Catastor, and the other is a Trickstar cheerleader dressed as a football player that takes up vital extra deck slots that could be used for other things. Metamorphosis should not have been attached to this gimmick on par with Nex. By the way, these cards do get a mention for being creative, as I do like the idea of the evolution of monsters, but do it with anything else. That's a cool archetype idea now that I think of it. You know, Konami, PayPal me $5 for my idea. Please, thank you. And now for the worst fusion of them all! A pile of slime! Specifically, I'm referring to Egyptian god slime. Hey, remember him from the Worst Boss Monsters video? Couldn't count him as a boss monster, cause guess what? That dude ran raw. So we put him on the worst fusions! This monster is a fusion of Revival Jam and Metal Reflect Slime, who's basically a hybrid of both effects of its materials to a degree. This monster becomes named Revival Jam on the field, okay, and has the revival aspect of that half, but only when destroyed by battle as opposed to destruction in general, like the anime version. Granted, it's the same effect as the real-life version. As for the other part, its attack and defense are equal to what the defense of Metal Reflect Slime was on the field. At your best, you have the IRL version for 3000 both ways. Worst case scenario, you use the anime version for some ungodly reason, which has a fluctuation in its stats and wider room for error. We only count the real-life versions of these cards if they can be used with the monsters on the list, so let's go off the 3k stats. Okay, now what do you do? It's just kind of a wall, and it's the same as Revival Jam. Just use Revival Jam instead of using Polymerization and then trying to fuse it with a fucking continuous trap for some reason. Or just use Marshmacron, or Marshmallow, or Spirit Reaper if you're feeling really nostalgic.
Got a loop-de-loop and pull, and your do-rag looking smooth.